Welcome to TRS Clips, where you'll find happiness through your own curiosity. You also have to brief us on what you learned about 2024, other than what I asked you within the first question.
Yeah.
So you're saying definitely not 400 par. It's almost
Nothing is definitely, but that's my feeling. Yeah.
it's almost unpredictable.
Okay.
What else?
Again, I think that the fact is that, as I said, that we traveled through 4 states. We hit 4 states. We did Andhra Pradesh. We did Telangana. We briefly touched into Karnataka as we drove through. And then we spent 3 days at the end in Maharashtra. Again, how in every state, the narrative is very different in terms of what the concerns are or even who the leaders are. Andhra Pradesh, for example, it is really Jagan and Chandrababu Naidu. The national parties don't matter. Congress is completely irrelevant in Andhra Pradesh. The BJP is very small. And it is piggybacking on the back of Chandrababu Naidu and the film star there, Pawan Kalyan. We went to a rally of Modi's when we were in Andhra Pradesh. It was scorching heat. I don't think I've experienced heat in India like that. At 3:30 in the afternoon, to sort of go to a rally of Narendra Modi. Very interesting that Pawan Kalyan, the big regional film star, he spoke in Telugu. When he spoke in Telugu and the crowds were like crazy. The moment he finished speaking, in terms of that, people started leaving. Even though you had Mr. Modi out there. And the issue is that Modi had to speak in Hindi, but there was a constant translation happening in Telugu. So that connect doesn't build. Compared to, let's say, when he's, like in a UP or somewhere and speaking in Hindi and he's at that sort of, his, he's such a strong speaker and that he's able to connect and that shout and call with the audience is happening, you don't get that effect out there. So just again about the regionalization. And it's all, the entire thing is, in fact, when we spoke to voters in Andhra Pradesh, no one even asked us about some Modi or Rahul Gandhi. There was no conversation about them. The whole conversation was their concerns and the leaders were Jagan Reddy, Chandrababu Naidu. Very clear as far as Andhra Pradesh. Now we enter Telangana. Again, very different. We had a meeting with Revant Reddy, the chief minister there now in Telangana. And it's like amazing to see that this is the new generation of the Congress at some level, which is that he was like, as he put it for us. I mean, one of the memorable quotes he gave me is, ideology is for the libraries. Saying that, listen, we are here, we are fighting. We are not here about, whose ideology is what, left, right, whatever. It's all practical in terms of what it is. And you also referenced to the BJP. In this election, one of the things which has really been very remarkable is that if you look at the BJP, 25% of all candidates that the BJP has put up in this election have come from other parties. That's quite a telling number. 25%. Imagine the BJP's put up near to 400 candidates. 100 of those have recently come from other parties. So just tells you that this ideology is how we think about it. But even the BJP, the Congress and all are very practical, especially at the ground level. Whoever, wants to come to our side, we'll take in terms of whoever is going to help us win. So out there. So you got the practical thing of politics out there. And also the fact that I think that in Telangana, it's become a race. The Congress is on the ascendant. It's doing all of a sudden. Remember, the Congress in Telangana 2 years ago was seen as a complete wipeout. In 2 years' time, it's gone from being a wipeout to first winning government. And in this election, it seems as if the Congress in Telangana at least is going to get the largest number of seats. And number 2 to Telangana is going to be the BJP. The regional party there, the BRS, is getting wiped out. So interesting that in Andhra Pradesh, 0 national parties. Telangana, right next to it, it's Congress and BJP as the 2 main parties now. Same thing in Karnataka. It's the Congress and the BJP who are slugging it out. And the JDS seems to have got wiped out there. So common theme we picked up, even though every state is different, is that in some of these states, the BJP's, apart from Andhra Pradesh, the BJP's allies aren't doing well, more than even the BJP. And in Maharashtra we came, there's so much confusion in this state. No one knows, who is with who, what's happening, even to get people to explain. When we ask them, कि आपका candidate कौन है? हाँ, वो है, उस party से है, and all this. There's so much candidate confusion out there that in this state, my best bet is going to be 50-50. That half here, half there. And there's some sympathy, I think, also for people like Uddhav Thackeray, Sharad Pawar, because there's this sort of thing of betrayal, कि उनके साथ विश्वासघात हुआ है. So I think that kind of feeling you got a bit out there. So that's very interesting to see these different narratives in these 4 states play itself out.
Okay. Because of the rise in numbers that we see in digital media, my assumption has always been that the internet is starting to reach the pockets of India where television could not have reached in some ways. Do you sense that the internet reaching these pockets of India affects the vote of the average voter there? The first time voter, for example, or generally even the older voters. Another way of asking this question is, are people getting more informed because of the internet?
No, absolutely. But more informed. I mean, politically, of course, it's there, but even commercially, like, I mean, these small villages I go to and people are ordering online packages, on like these domestic apps and stuff like that. People in villages.
Does this affect the elections
E-commerce
at all?
I'm not sure how it affects it, because I think, but I think that the issue that the importance of traditional news, the way we consume it, has gone down a lot. So you feel that that people are getting the news from so many sources, but the downside obviously is there's a lot of scope for fake stuff to also do well in this, and fake narratives to build through that. But yeah, I'd say the consumption of news in the traditional way has, in terms of that, has gone down a lot, and people are now getting news from various sources. I'm not sure how it affects the outcome, but yeah, I think that people, in terms of the fact that there's much more scope, therefore, all these disruptors you mentioned about Dhruv Rathis of the world, much more scope for that to happen. Much more scope for people like you in terms of who are coming at it from non-traditional media platforms to happen. I mean, 10 years ago, in terms of if you wanted, or when I started out and stuff like that, being on NDTV with Pranoy Roy was like the ultimate thing to be. Now you go to these places and it's like different platforms, who to be, what to do in terms of that is so different. I mean, I have a new book coming out. I have to try and promote it. All of a sudden, I'm noticing how different I have to go and who all I have to, who are the real influencers you have to speak to today compared to what you did. So I think it's changed the way it works, but I'm not sure it's influencing the outcome is the short answer.
The outcomes are dependent on local issues.
Very much. I mean, I'd say local issues, and also, people are like, what's in it for me? I think that's very much the question. I mean, I feel that especially of the younger generation, they're like, okay, what's in it for me in terms of that? Okay, if Modi is sort of helping me directly, yeah, I'll go. If he's not, then I'm going to focus on my local candidate.
Even non-Hindu voters?
I don't know about that. I think that we keep hearing these theories about the fact that there's a lot of Muslim vote consolidation which is happening and stuff like that, which may be happening in terms of it. But I feel that there it's a very different feeling, right? Because of the fact that if they feel they're being, targeted, then it becomes almost existential for them that we need to do something to do that. But I think they're doing it very quietly, because I think that a lot of Muslim voters also understand that if they say things too loudly and stuff like that, I think that's what happened in 2019 sometimes. It almost leads to a consolidation of the Hindu vote. So I think that whatever is happening, so I think that's one thing we're noticing. It's a much quieter election in terms of how people are behaving.
Generally, with the Muslims, Christians, and I'd also probably say the Buddhists that you meet on your travels, what's the sentiment towards the BJP?
No, I think that they're very clear in terms of who they're voting for, which is that whoever's can check the BJP, they're voting that way. I think that's very clear in terms of that. So, I mean, I hate to say it, but sometimes you ask people what's the name, and once they reveal the name, it tells you two things about them. It tells you about their, in terms of their religion. It tells you them about the caste. So often, one thing I've learned, you would ask me what I've learned over these years, so often that is a good predictor of how they're going to vote.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
90% of the time?
Not 90, yeah, but pretty high. The moment you know that, you know which way they're going to vote. That's one thing we have learned over years.
So your vote is decided by your religion?
No, into religion or even caste, right?
Or
both
caste.
of this. But the key thing that Modi's been able to do in the last 10 years is that there's a small swing voter, right? That voter he's been able to attract by saying that I'm doing something to, here in this way to help the country and stuff. So that swing voter who he's been able to attract. Otherwise, at a very base level, the voting preferences are still dictated a lot by these. But in Indian elections, but swing voter. That where's that 10% going, as you say?
Would you also call it the educated voter?
No, I don't think it's got anything to do with education. It's got to do with in terms of that swing voter, that they're not that committed. They're thinking much more in practical terms in terms of what it is. So I don't think education's a defining thing there. In fact, as you know, the BJP's big strongholds are in urban centers, which tend to have higher education levels. So I don't think that's the key differentiator as such.
Hey, if you enjoyed today's clip, make sure you check out all the other clips we've uploaded on this channel. You'll find a clip related to almost every single topic as long as you're willing to search for it.